Hey there everyone, just thought I'd bring you another one of these videos. It has been a while, but then again that's been because it's been a while since the police have actually approached me in their official capacity. Essentially this police fail video, it's not so much highlighting any intimidation tactics or threats or anything on their part, because there were none as far as I could see. These two officers were pretty cool guys anyway, I dare say, on the base level, but they didn't try and threaten me or anything like that. Basically, what really occurred was they tried to say that, if something happens, then we'll ask you to do something that you don't have to do, which is kind of pointless really, because they, since I don't have to do it, there's no point in them saying it. But anyway, just to set the scene for this particular one, basically I wasn't actually due to be in Maidstone for my normal Saturday megaphoning and hugging session. I was actually went down because I was going to be photographed by a photographer for the Kent Messenger, because that morning I'd spoken to Nick from the Kent Messenger. He spoke to me for about I think it was just over 40 minutes. I've already put on a video of the whole conversation for the purposes of fleshing out the article that he was going to write about my street activism, and the photos were going to be done this Saturday, but then they were moved forward to yesterday. And basically the photos were done then, and basically that was all finished. They'd gone, and I decided to carry on with my megaphoning and hugging. And essentially, the first person that came up, it was about an hour after both Nick and the photographer had gone. And I think it was the same individual who I was speaking on the megaphone, saying, the thing inspired by Danny Shine, saying, please remain as miserable as you can, because people who are miserable spend more money they don't have on things they don't need, and stay miserable. And there was an individual who shouted to me saying, yes, I'm miserable, but I'm sad at the same time. And I'm like, well, that's fantastic, sir, keep it up, sort of thing. I think it's the same individual who did that, but a little while after that, he came up, he started walking past me, and I can't remember the exact threat that he used. 2 seconds, I've just written it down. He said, when you get sent down there, I hope they send you shovels. To which I replied, well, down where? And he's like, down to hell. And I'm just like, oh, I was just thinking to myself, oh, the hell threat, okay. So even though this is the first time that I've actually been given the hell threat when doing my megaphoning, even though I have been given the hell threat in different capacities, but I just went straight back on the megaphone, and I said, well, when you can prove such a place exists, I'll be scared of being sent there. However, I cannot go somewhere that I don't believe exists. And he just walked off. I think he went to, because there were the two police officers that you will see in the video. They were hanging around, and I guess that he went there. But I find it quite strange to be threatened with hell from a morbidly obese Christian. But anyway, that's him. And another guy came up, and apparently he's a guy who's seen my megaphoning before. And he basically came up to me, and what did he say exactly? He said, do you work? And I'm like, not that it's relevant, but I'm not employed. No. And he's like, well, then you're a hypocrite. So, because he says, oh no, you're saying all this stuff about, oh, people, you're sheep and all that sort of stuff, and and you're taking state benefits. So you don't have a point to make, mate. And I'm just like, saying people are sheep? Wait a minute, I also say that the media tells the truth 100% of the time. There's an irony that I use sporadically throughout my presentation. So you can't take anything I'm saying on faith. Instead, you know, think about whether I'm actually being ironic about something and whether I'm actually being truthful about something. And either way, you need to question it anyway. So don't take anything I'm saying on faith. But yeah, those were basically the two, and those occurred within about a minute. So obviously that gave the police reason to come up to me and talk to me. And what you'll see in a second is the full video. It's only 59 seconds worth because he just wanted to say his piece and then walk away. But yeah, here's the video in question.
There we go.
Right, fine. What I was going to say is that you've had two members of the public that come in within a couple of minutes, right, and obviously arguing with yourself. Right, I don't want to cause no disturbances in this town. Okay, therefore, if I see other people coming up to you and obviously arguing with you and causing a nuisance, then I will have to ask you to friendly leave the location. Because I don't want no problems or nothing escalating.
However,
okay?
I will ask the question, sir. What law am I breaking by doing what I'm doing?
It's just a friendly request. That's all it is. Okay?
If it's a request, I have the right to decline. Can I not?
You're entitled to your own opinion. Okay, I'm not going to say that. Okay, however, if anyone here does find anything that you're saying is offensive, then obviously we'll have to take action. However, I can't hear you very well with that because it's quite muffled. That's all I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to leave it. There's only going to be a 10-second chat. All right?
Okay, well, you said your piece. Thank you very much, sir.
So there we go. There's the video. Basically, he wasn't really being threatening or intimidating or anything like that. He was basically stating that if more members of the public come up to take issue with what I'm saying, which by its very notion is questioning the status quo, which could get people offended, he's going to, you know, make a polite request for me to leave the area, which I don't have to adhere to. So it makes the very issue of him coming up to me fairly pointless, really, because we've already established that I'm not obliged to do anything he says that I'm doing, because I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just a case of whether the public decide to be offended or not. But we'll get into that a bit more in a minute. But yeah, basically about 5 minutes after this, I went back up to him, because I just thought to myself that, you know, he might want to know that for every one person that takes offence to what I'm doing, there's 20 more people who, you know, come up, give me a hug, tell me I'm doing a good thing, say, you know, yeah, you're fighting the good fight, mate. You know, so the ratio between the people who get offended and the people who actually, you know, appreciate what I'm doing is vast, you know. But yeah, essentially the police officer that you initially saw on the right of the frame, he basically made the point that that because basically to paraphrase and, you know, whittle down his argument, if anyone can take offence, then anyone has to stop anything they're doing purely because someone may take offence. Now, that is taking political correctness to a whole new tyrannical level, and it just completely violates Article 10 of the Human Rights Act, doesn't it? So, you know, that's that. But yeah, I'll break down the video in just a second. But I just want to say that, you know, those two officers, you know, I think you're wonderful human beings. As police officers, I think your time was wasted here, because you could have been doing much better things than telling someone who's speaking publicly on a megaphone that if more members of the public come up to complain, then they can request for me to leave when I don't have to. You know, your time was wasted, guys. You could have been doing something better. But I'll proceed with the breakdown of the video now.
There we go.
Right, fine. What I was going to say is that you've had two members of the public that come in within a couple of minutes, right, and obviously arguing with yourself. Right, I don't want to cause no disturbances in this town. Okay, therefore, if I see other people coming up to you and obviously arguing with you and causing a nuisance, then I will have to ask you to friendly leave the location.
Okay, he's established that if more people come up to me and take issue with what I'm saying, he's going to take action. Now, let's break down the reasons for why people would want to take issue with what I'm saying. First off, I'm, providing insightful information and asking questions that if someone listens to it, it calls into question the value system that we've been taught to hold in our hearts and in our minds. Now, for some people, that can be quite offensive. Think about the very idea that the church propagated the notion that the earth was flat and the earth was the center of the universe. Right? When Galileo Galilei and other scientists came up to basically say, no, the earth is round and it's not the center of the universe, that was extremely offensive to the status quo. But does that make the information wrong? No, it doesn't. So basically, I'm being held accountable for what other people choose to take offense from. Because that's one of the things I said on the Megaphone before both of these individuals came up to complain. One of the things I said is that keep in mind that offense is taken, offense is not given. So basically, by taking action on me for people getting offended at what I'm saying, what he's basically upholding is not the Human Rights Act. He's holding up some make-believe law that might state people's right to be offended. Okay, we do not have a right to be offended. That does not exist as a law. Okay, it doesn't even exist as a statute. So basically, moving me on because they choose to be offended. When I spoke to them later on, I tried to give examples of things that I might find offensive, but they kept batting them away and dismissing them because they're saying, "Oh, we're trying to get you to think like in this box here," and you're thinking like way outside the box. Oh, right, yes, good. I'm glad I'm thinking outside the box. But yeah. But yeah, I tried to give examples of, so what if I'm offended by the shop front of that jewellery shop? Does that mean that you have the powers to request that shop to move because I've become offended? No. I've chosen to become offended in that case, and these individuals have chosen to become offended by what I'm saying. We've already established that I'm not breaking any law by doing what I'm doing. They're just choosing to be offended. Boom, that's it. Okay? It's their choice to be offended. And like I said, the ratio of people who don't get offended by what I'm doing, the people who say, oh yeah, you're doing a good job, are far greater than the amount of people that actually do choose to become offended. So, there's that.
I don't want no problems or nothing escalating.
However,
okay?
I will ask the question, sir. What law am I breaking by doing what I'm doing?
It's just a friendly request. That's all it is. Okay?
Okay, right there you can see that he's not actually citing any law that I'm breaking. He's not even citing a statute. He's basically reiterating what he's saying before, that it's a friendly request. So with that in mind, I think that he can't say that I'm breaking any law. So no foul play on my part. Okay?
Okay?
If it's a request, I have the right to decline, can I not?
Okay, this is something that is quite important to establish. If the police make a request on you, then what you can say is, okay, if it's a request, then I can decline, right? Basically, they can't say that you have to adhere to it because it's only a request. You would have to adhere to it if it's an order, but by that sentiment, they have to prove that you have actually broken a law by which to have the authority to give you an order, for which we've already established here that I've done nothing wrong, no law has been broken, no order is being made on me, it's just a request.
You're entitled to your own opinion. Okay, I'm not going to say that.
Wait a minute, what did he mean by that? I'm entitled to my opinion, but he won't say that. Hey? Is this some sort of like, you know, is this some sort of like unofficial stance of the Metropolitan Police where they can speak the cliche you're entitled to your opinion, but they're not allowed to say it as police officers in their official capacity? That's interesting why he said you're entitled to your opinion, but I won't say that. I'm confused.
Okay, however, if anyone here does find anything that you're saying is offensive, then obviously we'll have to take action.
So you stated again there that if anyone else finds what I'm saying offensive, then they can take action. Well, can that happen in the opposite direction? If they're around, and if someone comes up to me and, you know, they smile at me, or they give me a hug, or they give me a thumbs up, or, you know, or say, yeah, you're doing a good job, man, keep it up, sort of thing, and, you know, all of which are reactions that I've received, you know, appreciation in many forms while doing my activism. Do the police then come up to me and say, well done, mate, stay? You know, if you know, does it work vice versa? I mean, you know, if people come up to take offence, then they can request that I leave. Does it work the other way around, that if people come up to me and appreciate what I'm doing, do they have the right to come up to me and request for me to stay? It's interesting because that's a bit telling of how you know, police officers are taught to how to work, to actually, you know, reprimand people instead of commending them.
However, I can't hear you very well with that because it's quite muffled.
He said he couldn't hear me because it was quite muffled. Now, I could partly concede because the power that was stored in the batteries was, it was charged up, you know, last Friday for Saturday's Megaphone activism. I did 5 hours, then just did what I normally do, was put a piece of folded up paper in between the batteries and the battery terminals to, you know, that way the batteries don't you know, discharge. And basically I came out today thinking, oh no, there should still be some charge in there, so, you know, carry on. So I could possibly concede that my batteries were not as powerful today, considering I'd only been using them for what, 2 hours maybe. But even so, the very purpose of a megaphone is to project sound in one direction. They were to my left, and at the time of the complaints being given and what I was saying, I was mostly either pointing it in that direction or that direction. They were in that direction, so they weren't in front of me. You know, they were in front of me, sorry, but I was projecting the sound to the sides. So it's a bit of a cop-out, as it were. Well, sorry for the pun there, but yeah, it's a bit of a cop-out. So, oh, I can't hear what you're saying, so therefore I don't have to think about what you're saying, and therefore I don't have to make any kind of personal judgments myself about what you were saying, but I'm not even going to hear you out to explain what you were saying anyway. But, you know, but yeah, I could appreciate the little dodge on that part.
That's all I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to leave it. It's only going to be a 10-second chat. All right?
Okay, well, you said your piece. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, there we have it, ladies and gents. That's the whole video now. Basically, he just wanted to just say his piece and then go, which, you know, as I've already stated, I think is a bit of a waste of their time anyway, because, you know, they don't come up to me and commend me whenever people come up and, you know, and possibly agree with me and discuss things with me, which there was already one gentleman already hanging around who I'd already, you know, spoken about a few things with. But they don't come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, well done, mate. You got a supporter. Well done. Stay." You know, no. If people complain or get offended, they request me to leave. But it doesn't work the other way around. But I've already covered that. But yeah, essentially, let's go through both the complaints that I received. Okay, first one was basically a guy saying to me that if I carry on doing what I'm doing, I'm going to go to hell. I'm sorry, but the religious views of one person does not encroach on the freedom of speech of another. Okay? And even if he did, then think about this, okay? What's more offensive? What's more potentially offensive to you, okay? Someone speaking their mind openly and respectfully in a public area, using a little bit of satire, a little bit of irony, you know, asking people questions, you know, questioning the system we live in, saying, like, you know, funny things and insightful things, or someone saying to you that you are going to be tortured and be in excruciating pain for all eternity. Now, eternity, by the way, is a length of time that, you know, the human mind possibly can't entirely wrap its brain around. You're going to be tortured for eternity. What is more offensive? To have someone speaking their mind in public, or for someone to say, do you know what, for what you're doing, you're going to suffer for eternity. You're going to be tortured for eternity, and you're going to deserve it. Okay? If I went up to someone and said that to them, that would be classed as a violation of the Public Order Act. So why is it okay for religious people to say it? But anyway, that's that one. And you know, this may count maybe as an ad hominem, but I wouldn't really like to consider myself in the position of being able to having to take advice from, you know, a Christian who's morbidly obese. Okay, I can't remember off the top of my head any passages that would actually condemn him for, you know, for allowing himself to get to that kind of weight. But anyway, that, you know, as I said, that may be considered an ad hominem, but I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, as for the second complaint that I got, now this one's a little interesting, because basically he said that me bleating on about, oh, you people are sheep and all that sort of stuff, and me being unemployed makes me a hypocrite. Well, if I was saying, you know, get off of state benefits, and state benefits are crap, and, you know, and if my beef was with state benefits and job seekers allowance, blah blah blah, if that was the case, and if I was receiving those same benefits, then yes, that would make me a hypocrite. Another thing, if I was saying, oh no, you know, don't listen to the media, which is one of the things that I say. If I worked in the media, then that would make me a hypocrite. If I was saying, oh, don't trust the banking system, you know, saying, oh, isn't the banking system fraud, which is one of the things that I said. If I work in the banking system, then that would make me a hypocrite. Okay, and also, you know, saying, oh, you're saying that people are sheep. Well, not necessarily. I'm saying that people are taught to behave like sheep. I'm not calling people sheep. And one thing I said to this guy in person, I said, well, regardless, even if you think that you've sat here and listened to me before, you've only absorbed around 5% of the general motivation and drive for what my message actually is. Because the thing is, let's take for example the fact that I'm unemployed right now. Okay, not that it's relevant. I mean, a lot of people they try and say, oh, do you work? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, shut up, get a job. I mean, how does not being employed, or how does being employed give you a right to have a say that the world is essentially going to hell in a handbasket? Okay, and one of the things that I said to him, said, does that make what I'm saying incorrect? how does the economic standing of one individual suddenly make the system sustainable? Because that's what I'm saying. The current system is unsustainable. The fact that I'm not employed, does that suddenly make the system sustainable? No, it doesn't. That is why that trying to pull someone up about their own economic standing is an ad hominem. Okay? You're considering the person delivering the information instead of the information itself. Now, say for example, even the current case that I'm unemployed, but I'm saying that we need to outgrow the system we live in right now. Doesn't that put me in the best, one of the best positions to actually have a point about this kind of thing? The fact that I am downtrodden this much by the system, that I'm forced to have to beg the state for handouts and beg employers for employment. The fact that I have to degrade myself to the point that I have to sell myself to an employer to basically say, yeah, I'm worthy for this job, please give me this job. The fact that I'm in that position and having the knowledge of that position, doesn't that give me even more grounds to say that this system needs to change? I would say so. So it's the ad hominem argument that people who are lucky enough to be employed throw at the unemployed when they say, oh, have you got a job? No? Then shut up. You know, get a job, then you can argue. You know, but that doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever, because the people who don't have jobs and the people who don't have all the luxuries that this system offers to the very few people that it does offer to, they are in a better position to complain. Okay, they're in a better position to call for a change. Okay, but you know, even the very notion that people might complain about what I'm doing, that's an interesting thing, because what I'm essentially doing is calling into question the current status quo, the things that we're doing, and even if it were the case that, I mean, you know, because I try and be respectful as I can, as you know, all the time. I try, you know, I don't. The only time I actually pick someone out individually is when I'm making a blatantly humorous point. To basically, you know, one of the examples I give is that I don't see any smiles around. I'd like to see more people smiling. You, sir, I'd like to see. I see you smile. Like, you know. I don't know. Another example I use is that I don't want to see people smiling because happiness is bad for the economy and blah blah blah. And I say, you, sir, you're smiling. Wipe that off your face, sort of thing. That is and that's a blatantly, obviously humorous thing that I'm doing. So obviously, you know, that isn't harassing, because you know people see that and they say, oh yeah, you know, it is funny. You know, he is, you know, making a humorous point. But I don't target people individually. You know, I mean, granted, one of the points that my second critic gave is that I generalize. Well, of course, I have to generalize to a certain extent. You know, in a sense, because I can't pick anyone out individually, because that would be seen as harassing. That would be a violation of Section 4 of the Public Order Act 1986. Okay, but you know, I have to generalize. I have to say, you know, I have to say things that, you know, appeal to a lot of people, because I'm speaking in public. I have to appeal to a wide audience. I try to, you know, appeal to as many people as I can. But the fact that people take issue of that isn't my responsibility, and it's not the police's right to come up to me and basically say that they can request that I can leave, even though they've stated that it's a friendly request and not an order, which is a waste of all our time. You know, next time I see those guys, I say, well, if I get anyone coming up to me to argue with me, let me have it out with them. you know, maybe they've misinterpreted some of my message, and maybe I can reassure them. And also, if anyone comes up to shake my hand or smile at me or give me a hug, please, I want you to come up to me and friendly request me to stay. But it's interesting how the police are pandering to a supposed right to be offended. I find that quite interesting because they don't come up to me and tell me I'm doing a good job when people come up to me and tell me I'm doing a good job. So why should they come up to me when people choose to take offence? It's their decision to be offended, all right? And especially with the second guy, he's holding me accountable for the information that I'm giving. It's the information that's important, not the person presenting it. Okay, that's what makes, you know, the whole, you know, do you have a job? No, then shut up. You know, that's what makes that an ad hominem. Okay, but I think I've said all I will on this. I don't want to make this too long because I know the other one was like over 40 minutes long. I don't want to make this one too long. But yeah, essentially that was another fail. Oh, also, one more update I will give you guys. I don't know whether this is true or not. I just heard about this from one of the guys who works on the fruit and veg stall that's right nearby whenever I do my megaphoning. I heard from him. I don't know how. I don't know if this is true, or I don't even know how I can verify this to be true. Maybe if anyone here watching knows either the specifics of this situation or how to verify it, then please get in contact with me. But apparently, do you remember the environmental enforcement officer who, in the last video, she said, "Oh, you're talking out your arse now." She also, at another instance of me doing my megaphoning, I don't have this on video, but she did hang around, and when I was explaining my bit, she shouted out at me, calling me a dickhead. Even though I don't have that on video, I did put it in my little blurb summary thing that whenever I come back from megaphoning and hugging, I write a summary of it. I included it in that. But apparently, that environmental enforcement officer is facing disciplinary action now because of the information about her behaviour that I've brought to light. Now, I don't know whether this is true or not. I'd like it to be true because she does act like a thug. But personally, I don't know whether it's true. I don't even know how off the top of my head, how to verify if it's true. But even if it is true, awesome, because she needs to be told that insulting people in public is not acceptable, and it's not befitting of someone in a position of authority. But that's that. As I said, I don't want to make this video too long, so yeah, the encounters that I'm having seem to be dwindling. So please don't expect a long series of these videos. Because obviously I'm as respectful as I can at all times when I'm doing my stuff. It's just the odd person that comes up and somehow decides upon themselves to be offended or take issue, mainly because they've completely misinterpreted what I'm saying, and it would just take me sitting down with them and just calmly explaining what point I'm making, that maybe they might decide, well, actually no, you got a point. So sorry, I've misinterpreted. But with these kind of individuals, how often do you get that kind of chance? No, they just get offended, they say their bit, they insult you, and then they walk away, and they go to the police and try and get you in trouble for offending them when they've reacted and retaliated with something even more offensive, like you're going to go to hell and you're going to be tortured for eternity. That could possibly be far more offensive than saying any. I mean, even if I was saying Christianity is a complete lie, and doing all this blah 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 blah, that's nowhere near offensive than saying that someone is going to be in excruciating pain for eternity. Okay, there's double standard there. But anyway, there's that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you guys take care. I'll see you all later. Bye bye. Have wonderful lives.